Our campus must be dry.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the Dry Campus Podcast. This is episode 18. This week is a little bit of a different episode because my co-host, Ethan, is on vacation this week. He's in Florida, and he's unable to join us on this episode. So this episode will just be me kind of talking through how I feel about everything going on and the tough loss to Wisconsin last night in double overtime. Just a heartbreaking, devastating loss. Really just makes you sad. I was really disappointed last night at the end of that game. Really wanted to come out with that one, but at the end of the day, there are still a lot of positives to take out of it. Take out of this. So we're going to get to the negatives. Obviously, it's a game that I believe we should have won, but I feel like we should definitely talk about the positives because there were a lot. I mean, we pushed a top 10 team like Wisconsin, number 8 in the country, who are now 4-1 in the Big Ten, one of the best teams in the Big Ten, to double overtime without our second best scorer in Armand Franklin. That's pretty impressive. And there are a couple reasons why we did this. Trace Jackson Davis was a monster last night. 23 points, 12 assists, 4 rebounds. 23 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. That makes a lot more sense. He was just dominating in the paint. Micah Potters wasn't able to stop him. Reavers wasn't able to stop him. As much size as Wisconsin had, they really weren't able to stop him. And it was due to the level of play from our guards. Our guards were able to get him the ball inside. The entry pass was, too good for the Wisconsin defense to kind of guard. And then at that point, it's just Trace being Trace. And, our guards were fantastic last night. Allen Robb had great games. Durham had 15 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. Robb had 10 points and 6 assists. The team combined for 19 assists total. That is remarkable compared to previous games because in a lot of these games in the past, it feels like we're not moving the ball well at all. Last night, we were moving the ball tremendously. Everyone was getting a piece. We were penetrating the defense and then finding the right pass. Guys were cutting in the right places. And we were getting easy buckets. Offensively, I felt like, especially towards the latter half of the first half and the second half completely, including the first overtime, our offense was the best I've seen it. Ball movement was great. Guys were making shots too. We shot 38% from 3, which honestly, for us, that's really good. And more importantly, we weren't taking a ton of threes. We were taking threes in the right spots, but we were really relying on our paint play to really dominate most of the game. So, that's important to kind of go to your bread and butter and limit the 3-point opportunities you take. When we took 22 threes against Maryland, we made 4. That's 18%. That's terrible. But we're not a team that should be taking 22 threes to begin with. That number should be a lot lower, and we should still be making more. But, we want to be efficient with our offense. Our offense isn't going to be as efficient if we're shooting more threes. Our bread and butter is going inside to our bigs and, making plays in the paint. And we were doing that really well last night. Another positive I saw was our bench play. It took a while to figure out which guys were clicking, and sometimes that'll happen when you have such young guys on your team. But Jerome Hunter and Anthony Leal played huge last night. Hunter had 12 points. Leal had 9 points with 3 threes. They both played upwards of 30 minutes, I believe. And they were on the court at the end of the game when in those important moments. Galloway was not having a good game. I think Leal kind of took over for him in that spot, and that's going to happen, with the various matchups that you're going up against every night in the Big Ten. And finally, Leal found his shot. Now, it took a little while because in the first half, you had some questionable rotations from Archie, especially, I believe, in that second or third 4-minute segment of the first half where Archie put out Leal, Galloway, and Geronimo. No, it was Anthony Leal, Jordan Geronimo, and Christian Lander on the court all at the same time. 3 guys who previously, none of those guys, I think, maybe had more than 10 minutes in a game. Now, that's a big difference now because Anthony Leal went from not really playing at all to playing almost 35 minutes or something like that in last night's game. And he played big. He was awesome last night, and I'm really excited to see him get more minutes down the stretch. I don't know if Geronimo and Lander are really ready yet to kind of fit into that defensive system. Geronimo, you want him to be a guy who can rebound well. Offensive rebound would be a great addition to our team right now, which is an area we're struggling in. Christian Lander just doesn't seem like he's ready yet. I mean, he's a young kid. He's 17. It's it might take some time. It doesn't feel like he's really fitting into the defensive system that Archie has set in place, and his shot making's not good enough for him to kind of to take the pressure off that defensive side and say, all right, well, his defense might not be great, but his offense at least kind of makes up for it. It's not making up for it right now. In the few minutes we've seen him each game, he's chucking up air balls, and it just hasn't looked pretty. So he's definitely a guy that needs a little bit more development, but hopefully we'll see that happen soon. So, overall, I really think that there are a lot of positives to take from this game, and we were definitely moving in the right direction. And, mostly our guys are just playing with a ton of energy and a ton of heart. We have criticized this team in the past for, kind of falling and crumbling and, having these long stretches where they just suck playing out and they're not, moving the ball well. They're not, playing tough defense. They look like deer in headlights on the court. Last night, that wasn't the issue at all. Last night, they were playing hard at every point on which they were on the court. And, as fans, that's something we should be proud of, and that's a good sign for, good things to come. This was against a top 10 team without Armand Franklin. That's a really good sign. And I think now the challenge is going to be being able to close out these types of close games, because we've struggled in the past. Now we've had that Florida State game. Now we've had this game. I would really love to see an overtime game, or not even overtime, a close game against a really good team that we can pull out at the end. Now going to our negatives. We really should have pulled this one out. This was really just, we had it in the bag, man. At the end of overtime, at the end of regulation, we drop a play. Trace Jackson Davis has the ball. He gets a pretty good look, man. That was a really clean look, and he just missed it. He flat out just missed it. That'll happen, but the way he was playing last night, I mean, you got to convert those opportunities. The opportunity at the end of overtime, however, that I think is just coaching. That was ugly. That's not how you want to, finish those possessions, because you're not going to get more than 2 or 3 opportunities to just go out there and win the game. We had 2 clean opportunities to take the last shot and win the game. Obviously you can talk about a lot of other things. Dimitri Trice on Wisconsin was on fire towards the end of the game, was making every shot. But, that's going to happen against a team like Wisconsin. There are a lot of teams in the Big Ten that have those kind of guys who will just go down the stretch, will take every shot in those last few possessions and make them. And it's not something new that we've had to deal with Chase Audige did that against us for Northwestern. Iota Sumu did that against us for Illinois. I think there was a guy on Penn State who did that against us too. We ended up pulling that one out, but it still happens quite a bit against us for some reason. And for some reason, we don't have that guy who just keeps making shot after shot after shot. And you'd think Armand is that guy, so maybe that's an issue there where you could say if Armand was playing last night, we'd probably pull this one out. But again, that was just sloppy. We turned the ball over and had a tie up, and it was a jump ball, and possession arrow went to Wisconsin. That's just a bad play drawn up by Archie. So that's an area where Archie Miller really has to kind of figure out what he wants to do in end of game situations where the game is on the line, game is tied, or you're down, and you just have to go out there and get a basket. This team is so defense reliant, and I love that. I really do. I mean, again, they played great defense last night. It was a really low-scoring game at the end of the fourth quarter. They played fantastic defense. But what you need to be able to do is have set plays where you can say, all right, this is going to get us a bucket. This is going to get us a bucket. And this team doesn't really have that yet. We'll see if they can do that. I mean, from what we saw last night, offensively, we looked so much better, and the ball was moving around a lot better, and our guard play was awesome offensively at times. But we need to figure out that extra step, that last step. The other thing I want to say, and this is gonna be a really, really passionate little bit of a rant here, but I'm kind of pissed off. I was talking to Ethan about it last night, and Ethan kind of made the analogy that Wisconsin is like the Green Bay Packers of the Big Ten. Let me explain that to you. The Packers are benefited heavily by the NFL refs. Just like last night, Wisconsin was benefited heavily by these Big Ten referees. It was disgusting how bad the officiating was in this game. Wisconsin was getting every call thrown their way, and we just weren't getting any. And it wasn't like we were aggressively fouling more. We were playing aggressive defense. I'll give you that. But there's just the disparity. There are calls towards the end of that game where we touch a guy just slightly and they call foul. They blow the whistle. And there are other times where Trace is driving to the basket and he's getting fouled like crazy every single time. And there's a no call. This happened multiple times towards the end of the game. And then on the other side, touch a guy, go to the free throw line. It's absurd. We were playing better than they were. Quite honestly, completely honestly, we were playing better than them on all aspects of the game. Towards the end of that fourth quarter and even during overtime. And the only thing that kept them in the game was the officiating. Let me throw out a stat for you. Free throw shooting. We were 5 of 8. Not bad, They were 16 of 20. Now, you could say, hey, well, they missed more free throws than us. They went to the line 12 more times. That tells you all you need to know. They really won the free throw battle, it doesn't, it's not the end of the world if you lose the free throw battle, but by that much, they went to the line 12 more times than that. That is officiating, because I swear to God, we did not foul that many more times. There is no way in hell we fouled fouled less by that much, fouled more by that much. Sorry. It was egregious. It was terrible. And, I was just really disappointed in that. it just seems like there's just not a level playing field sometimes when you're dealing with these refs. And, I know I'm saying that as a fan, and I know, there are games where the officiating kind of goes our way, but I have not seen it that bad as I did last night in a very, very long time. And I really get Ethan's analogy, happens all the time when we watch Packers games too. Just seems like somehow there's a call thrown in there that you kind of shake your head at. So it is what it is. We still had an opportunity to win the game even with that terrible officiating. And we didn't take the opportunity. So it's a learning step. It's something that we need to kind of improve upon and be able to make those little changes and differences to be able to manage those crunch time situations a little better and hopefully try and win the game next time around. So, that's really all I have to say on that. The other thing that I saw last night that probably we could improve upon a little bit too is rebounding and turnovers. So starting off with turnovers, we kind of started the game with a bunch of turnovers. That's what's going to happen when you try to move the ball a ton, but Wisconsin's a team that kind of limits the turnovers a little bit. Now, we were making it tough on them last night, and they turned the ball over more than they usually do. So that's a testament to our defense. I mean, it shows like these two teams are the best two defenses in the Big Ten, in my opinion, and it definitely showed last night. That was a defensive game. That was a put your head down and play hard type of game where guys were just going at each other. So yeah, I mean, they definitely won the turnover battle. I think we had 19 turnovers, or I'm not exactly sure what the number was, but we had more than they did. Not 19, that's way too high, but we had more turnovers than they did. But offensive rebounding is something that we have consistently struggled in every game. Wisconsin had 9 offensive rebounds last night to our 2. And it showed. They had some second chance opportunities to kind of make up for missed shots. And that's another area that could have been a difference down the stretch. 2 offensive rebounds isn't going to cut it, And a lot of times it's tough when you have first of all, you're playing a team with a lot of size like Wisconsin, but you got to play better than that. You got to create more second chance opportunities for yourself. And I know it's tough sometimes for, guys like Trace or Race to go up against 3 or 4 big guys from Wisconsin who are all crowding the paint trying to get that rebound. But, it shows on the other side too. When teams are getting more offensive rebounds from us, it's because their guards are also getting rebounds. And that's an area where we really need to improve. There are going to be shots where we take longer shots, mid-range or 3-point shots, and they miss. And, Trace and Race are going to be inside, or Jerome, a lot of times might be inside. And they're not going to be able to get those rebounds because it's, the further you shoot, the further it's going to bounce back. So, we don't have a lot of size when it comes to our guard play. We have shorter guys, but it's about putting yourself in the right position, spacing, making sure you're in the right area of the court to try and get a rebound. Dennis Rodman always said it. He's a rebounding king, and he's my hero because my favorite part of the game is rebounding. And whenever I play basketball, I pride myself on my rebounding ability. But he would always say that he practiced just knowing where to be on the court to be able to get those rebounds. So maybe our guards need to kind of take one out of the old Rodman book and really try to figure out that spacing and figure out where they should be on the court to try and get those offensive rebounds because we're just getting out-muscled in that area by a lot. So, definitely an area to improve upon, and I hope we do. But overall, not much more to say about this game other than it's just a tough loss. Chalk it down to couple possessions here and there. It's tough to really say what the difference was. I mean, at the end of the day, you could talk about overtime number 2 and, how we just completely got outscored there. But we lost this game in regulation and overtime because, look, second overtime, our guys are gassed. Trace had played 49 minutes. Other guys had played 45 plus minutes. I think Durham and Finney played more than 45 minutes. So these guys were really, really tired. The other side of things, Wisconsin starts 5 seniors. These guys are like 24 years old, 23 years old. These are guys who have a lot of experience and have been on this team for a long time. So they've been in these situations numerous times before. We've got young guys on the court. We have Anthony Leal, a freshman, on the court at the end of the game. He's probably like 18, maybe 19 at the most. We got, Trace, who's great player, but he's still young. He's a sophomore. Jerome Hunter's also a sophomore. You got Finney and Durham there. Those are the veterans, but still pretty much almost all the guys are younger than everyone Wisconsin had out there. So youth and inexperience shows in those types of situations, especially when, the game gets prolonged even more. And the more you play, the more tired you become. Experience wins. And Wisconsin showed that last night, once they were able to get to second OT. So we should have won this game earlier. The longer it went, the more of a chance Wisconsin had to win. So we really should have kind of gotten this done a little earlier. We had opportunities at the end of regulation, at the end of overtime. We just didn't take them, and that missed shot at the end of regulation by Trace with that clean look, that might haunt us for a while. However, there's no better way to get over a loss than to win. And what better way to do that is against Nebraska. I honestly, it's perfect. Our schedule is perfect right now because after a loss like that, it's really tough to get out there on the court again and, try to win another game. You're just mentally exhausted. But Nebraska is the perfect team for us to kind of bounce back and get a win against because this is the closest game really to a free win that you'll get in the Big Ten. Probably the easiest game we'll have all year in our conference schedule. Nebraska's 4-7. They are 0-4 in the Big Ten, and rightfully so. They are probably the worst team in the Big Ten. They, just to throw out a couple of guys out there, Teddy Allen, their guard, averaging 18.2 points per game and 5 rebounds a game. Delano Banton, another guard, averaging 12.8 points a game, 6.9 rebounds a game, and 4.9 assists per game. So, a little more even than that. But outside of that, they don't really have a lot of contributors on the stat sheet. They don't have a ton of size. They have a little bit of size in terms of, kind of rebounding and things like that. One of the things they do really well is rebound. But, they're not really able to translate some of that size onto the defensive side. They're a really bad defensive team. They're the 13th worst defensive team. So Penn State's the worst defensive team in terms of points allowed, and Nebraska is just right above that. So, we have the clear defensive advantage, and we're going to want to use that to our advantage in this game. Try to slow them down and just take control of our offensive opportunities. This is not a game where we want those offensive lapses at all, and I don't think it will be one of those games where we have that. Again, as we've seen so far this season, we're not really a first half team. We're a big time second half team. So, I'm going to start trying to get a little less worried when we go on one of those 4 minute stretches of not really scoring a whole lot and kind of sloppy offense, early on in the game in one of those second or third 4 minute segments. I'm going to try my best not to get too worried and too concerned because this team has shown that it can bounce back from those and kind of still keep the score close, which we've done. Every single Big Ten game we've played so far, it hasn't been like we've just been blown out the water, and that's because of our defense. But we have played a lot better offense when, as the game progresses, and we're able to figure out the matchups a lot better. But that being said, as I said, Nebraska, not a great defensive team at all. Probably one of the worst in the Big Ten. They're not great offensively either. They're a little better than their defense. They do average more points than we do. But we also have that combination with our defense. So matched up, I think this is a perfect matchup for us. I think this is a game where Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson can really dominate inside the paint. I think Al Durham should have another big game as well. I want to see him continue to progress along with Finney. Both of those guys have really been playing a lot better as of late. And I want to see our offense keep moving in the right direction. We had one of our best offensive games against Wisconsin. I want to see more of that, where we're really getting everyone involved and moving the ball and creating the right shot for each possession, and not having those late shot clock possessions where we're just chucking up a bad shot. And that's happened a lot for this team. And one of the great things was it didn't happen a whole lot against Wisconsin. So, and the other thing, I want to see more consistent 3-point shooting as well, as that's something that we've talked about in the past as well. But again, not having to take too many, but making the most of the ones that you take is really the key here. Now, the most important thing, though, I need to see some improvement, as I said earlier, in the offensive rebounding category. This is an area where we really have struggled in the past, and it's an area where we really want to see some improvement. One of these days, I want to win that battle, and this is a perfect game to be able to do that. I think if we are able to win that offensive rebounding battle, I don't think there's really any way that Nebraska can really stop us. So that's another point there, and I really just think this is a game that we can dominate. I want to be able to go out and have an emphatic victory and win by double digits. I think if we do that, we're going to be on the right path. We have a gauntlet in our schedule coming up after this game. I believe we play Purdue after this Nebraska game, but then we have that big stretch where we play Michigan State, Iowa, we might play Illinois again. We play Iowa twice, I believe, in that stretch. So it's gonna be a tough one. So I'm excited for this game to kind of just get back into the win column, get back to 500 in Big Ten play, because man, that was really wanted that one against Wisconsin, as we all did. But there's no better way to get over a loss than to get another win. So we will be live tweeting this game as we always do at PodDry on Twitter, and follow us on Instagram at DryCampusPod. We'll let you know when this podcast will come out. It'll probably come out tomorrow, which is Saturday. If you're listening to it, I'm recording this on Friday. So I want to give a prediction for this Nebraska game. I think we will take this game. I'm going to go 74-61. I think we can get a double-digit victory here, and that would kind of put us in the right path. But overall, really excited to watch this team play again. They've been playing a lot better, and that's a positive. Even with the loss, it's a positive to see these guys play a lot better. And I want to keep seeing where this team can grow, because last night against Wisconsin, that was the first time I really saw the potential of this offense. Before last night, I was, worried about, Armand's out. Where's our offensive production going to come outside of Trace? And last night I saw it. I saw guys like Jerome Hunter and Anthony Leal step up from the bench, and that was the first time our bench really did anything. So that became, a possible reality in our head where our bench can play well and we get offensive production. Al and Rob have continued to improve from once we first criticized them. And Ethan was bringing up this point with me last night about how anytime we criticize someone on the podcast, they somehow just step up and play a lot better. We did that with Al and Rob, for a while, and they finally stepped up and played a lot better. I think I criticized Anthony Leal on the last podcast, talking about how he's turning the ball over and kind of didn't look comfortable on the court. That wasn't really a criticism. I was just kind of, I knew he's a young guy and he's going to develop, but he must have heard what I said, and he played a whole lot better. So I'm just really excited to see all these young guys develop further and, watch this team come together and play like a team. So, super excited for this game. As I said, we will be live tweeting it and letting you guys know all the details that you guys need. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on notifications. And, thank you guys so much for tuning in for another edition of the Dry Campus podcast. And we hope you guys have a great weekend and enjoy the NFL playoffs along with the Nebraska game. So thank you guys so much, and we'll be back next time on Dry Campus.
Our